Alright, family, so I just want to have a quick conversation about a particular boxer that, you know, he's amazing, right? Probably the top of his division, if you want to take away like PBC, Golden Boy, blah, 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 like all these different promotions. If you just want to look at the like legit 147ers, Terence Crawford is at the top, right? Just from the eye test, of course. I just got done talking about Canelo when it comes to, oops, let me get this shit right. Canelo, and when it comes to boxing and things like that, your legacy isn't necessarily based off of who you fight. And I don't mean that as in that's always how boxing has been. I think Mayweather's the one who changed that, right? I think Mayweather was the one who ended up making your record more important than who you fight. So that's just my opinion on it. But let's get back to the topic at hand, Terence Crawford, right? I just read an article where Terence Crawford said he's frustrated about the fact that he wants to fight the best. He wants to fight the best guys, but none of the best guys want to fight him. And anyone who doesn't know anything about boxing and the business of boxing will think that, oh, are you saying that people are ducking you? And then others will say, oh, Crawford, you ducking him, when they have no idea how the business of boxing goes, because it's all about making money, right? All of the best welterweights are with PBC, right? And Terence Crawford, I put him in the same place as Loma. I just think ESPN, Top Rank, they've been around so long, they got that Disney money behind them. They are able to market their fighter to be great without really doing anything. And I'm not saying that about Loma or Terence. I'm just saying that's the type of money they have behind them. If you look at the way Eddie Hearn promotes his fighter, it's word of mouth. Eddie Hearn comes out in interviews and he talks and he builds his fighters up, right? But if you look at like the top rank, Eddie Hearn's probably like Eddie Hearn took the Dana White model when it comes to doing, promoting his fighters, right? Eddie Hearn's been around for a minute, but I think once Dana White got big with the UFC, Eddie Hearn kind of seen what was happening over there, and he kind of decided to take on the same role that Dana White was doing, where it's like, all right, I want people to see my face. I want to be just as popular as my promotion company as well as my fighters, and I want people to believe what I say when I say it. And he's done that over the years, and now he's at the point where I do believe when he comes out and he says something about a fighter, people either believe it or they don't believe it, which is powerful. While guys like Bob Arum, who've been in the game so long, and Al Heyman, and in my opinion, this is me speculating from the outside in, they use money to market their fighters. You know what I'm saying? Commercials, advertisements, all these type of different things. Because if you think about the U.S., boxing's not as popular as it is in the U.K. You know what I'm saying? So they have to do it that way. They got to put these guys in commercials and things like that if they want the mainstream media to even have any idea that a Terence Crawford is fighting on ESPN at 7 o'clock, or no one's going to give a fuck. Where UK, you don't need to do that. You know what I'm saying? People love their boxing. People know they boxing stars. It's big business out there. So back to the point at hand, Terence Crawford talking about the fact that he's upset that no one wants to fight him, right? And obviously it has to do with what I just talked about. PBC not wanting to do with any dealings with Top Rank, and it's been like that for a long time. You kind of see that boundary being broken a little bit, which I talked about in the video before. I said Bob Arum's trying to do, he's following in the footsteps of Eddie Hearn. He's doing 20 new boxing matches overseas next year. You guys saw Jose Ramirez fought Maurice Hooker. That was the first time we see kind of like a Top Rank DAZN crossover since DAZN's been open. So you can, during that time, Eddie Hearn and Bob Arum, they both had a press conference where they both talked. You don't see that in boxing. All right, you haven't seen that, at least in the last decade, where two major promotions are not only working with each other, but it seems like they're somewhat on friendly terms. And so, with that being said, I salute both of them, regardless, how people try to make it look like Bob Arum is the worst promoter in boxing business, because they're all bad. You know what I'm saying? Al Heyman's terrible. They're all bad, okay? If you want to look at it, what they do, like Al Heyman gets credit because he pays his fighters. He's the one who set the precedent for paying fighters the amount they're getting paid for now, but at the same time, he also set the precedent for allowing fighters to cherry pick, and not all his fighters, just his money fighters, because he knew if his money fighters stay undefeated, then his money's gonna keep coming in. So that's money at the top, but it's not trickling down, because don't act like it trickles down in boxing. It's all at that top spot when it comes to making big money. If you're not in that top, you know what I'm saying, you know what I'm talking about, that top area of boxing, you know what I'm saying, the top 5 rank, top 10 rank, but within those top 10 ranks, you also have a name, be able to be a pay-per-view draw, and you know what I'm saying, the money might be a little funny. But let me get back to the point. What do you guys think about Terence Crawford once again, because I feel like this has been the same saga for the last 2 years when it comes to Terence Crawford, talking about the fact that no one wants to fight him, even though he feels like he's the best. It's the same old story. And I love Terence Crawford, but it gets to the point where you just have to be honest with yourself and be like, hey, in 2018, my contract was getting ready to run out. Before I fought, I believe it was David Benavidez. I might be wrong. If I'm wrong, y'all correct me. It was time for him to re-up. And he could have said, no, I just want to fight this last fight out of my contract and I want to be a free agent. He had that option. But I told this to some people who asked, like, dude, like, why do you think Terence Crawford stays with Top Rank, you know what I'm saying, when there's no one he can fight and it's going to be hard for him to, you know, basically establish himself as the pound-for-pound best welterweight? Money. Bob Arum's pockets are deep. I was just talking about that Disney money. But two, there's not a lot of household names with Top Rank. So you think about it. Bob Arum, he's going to throw all his money at a Terence Crawford and a Vasyl Lomachenko because they're the face of ESPN boxing right now. They're the face of fucking Top Rank. So you can't let those guys go. If he loses either one of those, who does he have? So I'm like, any of you guys who want to question his decision, I'm like, the reports aren't out there. I give Bob Arum that. He does a good job on hiding how much he pays his big name fighters, or let me say this, the contracts, because, you know, the purses for the fights are always out there, but I'm like, the contracts they sign, he does a good job not putting that out to the public, but with DAZN, you see it's always out there. So I am interested. I wonder how much money he did offer, because you know there's a lot of money in DAZN. I don't see PBC offering him a lot of money because their welterweight division is stacked, and I don't see someone like Al Heyman saying, I'm going to take a product of ESPN, bring him over, and allow him to beat the guys who are products of PBC. That's not going to be a good look, even if he does sign them. The only person he did that with was Manny Pacquiao, and that's because Manny Pacquiao was Manny Pacquiao. You really can't, like, you don't want to pass something up like that. So, like, my whole point of this is just like, look, Terence, you're great, and I agree with you. And I don't, like, a lot of people try to knock you for signing with Top Rank. I think it's smart, because at the end of the day, you're probably going to get the biggest amount of money from Top Rank, guaranteed, while at the same time maybe not having the hardest competition. I'm not saying that's what he's doing, but I'm like, that's real. That's what's happening. Like, that's real. So it kind of irks me when I see Terence Crawford talk about, I hate that they won't fight me, when he knows what the situation is when he signed it. Have you noticed no one else talks about Terence Crawford from PBC? No one does. Because in reality, we know there's no such thing as a PBC fighter being able to fight a top-ranked fighter. It's not going to happen. You can even break this down and look at Loma, man. I'm like, how many PBC fighters talk about they want to fight Loma? I'm like, the closest we've had to that is maybe Davis saying it, but he don't really put that out there like that. Mikey Garcia said it. But I'm like, Mikey Garcia had a short deal with him. So I'm like, Mikey Garcia, I never considered Mikey Garcia a PBC fighter, because he retired for so long, and then when he came back, he had like a 3-fight deal with PBC where he fought Easter Jr., Adrian Broner, and then he went on to fight Errol. Like, you see he's looking for a new contract now, so I don't really consider him a PBC fighter like that. Like, I consider like the Shawn Porters of the world and shit like that PBC fighter, because these dudes came up under Al Heyman, and like, these are guys that they invested money in because they saw them as, you know, making money for them in the future. But you know, let me know what y'all think about all this. You think I'm just kind of ranting? You think I'm kind of disrespecting Terence saying this? I just think it's the reality of things. Like, Terence, you signed with Top Rank. You're exclusively there. You have to exclusively fight the Top Rank fighters unless DAZN decides to let you have a crack at one of their welterweights, and DAZN's welterweight division isn't really anything nobody really gives a fuck about. So even if you do that, what's the benefit of it? It's like, you look, man, you put yourself in this position. You knew what the game was. But then at the same time, you can't blame him, because it was probably the most money he could have gotten other than DAZN. And then why are you going to go to DAZN when their welterweight division is just as weak as Top Rank's? At the very least, you probably got more power with Top Rank than if you go to DAZN. So it's a double-edged sword, you know what I'm saying? Damned if you do, damned if you don't. Let me know what y'all think about these topics, you know what I'm saying? As always, Mr. Positivity, staying positive, man. Talked a little bit more about these, but I had a lot to say, you feel me? You know what I'm saying? I'm going to say it again. I'm going to say it twice. We got a lot of music coming out this December, especially from your boy Fluence, man. I'm going to be blessing y'all with a lot of stuff. And especially going into next year, man. It's going to be a whole new gear that's going to be put on. And hopefully I can keep that going. But we appreciate the support. We appreciate everything y'all doing, man. Just keep showing love. You know what I'm saying? And we're going to keep putting it out there. Comment, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. You already know what it is. BLAKGOOSETV. Y'all stay up.